Hello everyone and welcome to the Venky Ball YouTube channel. This is my first video and I thank every single one of you for watching. If you find my content informative and would like to see tactical previews and reviews for every Chelsea game, please slap a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, without further ado, let's dive right in. After a 4-1 thrashing at the hands of Newcastle United last weekend, our next assignment is at home to Roberto De Zerbi's Brighton and Hove Albion on Sunday. The Seagulls currently sit in 8th position in the league, 6 points and 2 places ahead of Chelsea, who round out the top 10. The Blues haven't recorded a single Premier League victory over Brighton since the opening day of the season 3 years ago. For context, Frank Lampard was in charge that day, and both Timo Werner and Kai Havertz made their debuts for the club. However, we have beaten them twice since Mauricio Pochettino took charge, once in a preseason friendly and once in the third round of the League Cup. Last season, Brighton secured their highest ever finish in the top flight, qualifying for the Europa League by ending the campaign in 6th place. With the season we had, on the other hand, it is unsurprising that De Zerbi's men did the double over their former boss Graham Potter. In the corresponding fixture last season, it was teenager Julio Enciso who came up with a special moment and an absolute firecracker of a strike from range to give Brighton their first ever victory at Stamford Bridge in their 122-year history. There has also been a lot of recent history between the clubs when it comes to the transfer market. Robert Sanchez and Moises Caicedo both traded Brighton's striped kit for Chelsea's royal blue in the most recent window gone by, after Marc Cucurella did the same in the summer of 2022. On the other hand, Billy Gilmore and Tariq Lamptey, both talents nurtured at Cobham, made the move from West London to East Sussex. Levi Colwill also spent last season on loan on the south coast. Chelsea's home form has been abysmal so far this season. We have won only one league game at the Bridge, a 3-0 success against newly promoted Luton Town at the end of August. The home table sees us languishing in 15th, with just 6 points from our 7 games so far. Brighton don't come into this game in great form either. Their victory away at Nottingham Forest last weekend was their first league win in 7, with their last 3 points coming at the back of September. This run includes a 6-1 humbling at the hands of Aston Villa, a game we will analyze briefly a little bit later on. Both teams have injuries and suspensions aplenty, and the lineups fielded by both managers will be nowhere near their strongest. Here's a look at how Chelsea could line up. Pochettino will almost certainly be forced to play 4 centre-backs in his back line, with Ben Chilwell and Malo Gusto out injured, and Reece James and Marc Cucurella both suspended after last weekend's horror show at St James's Park. Levi Colwill is expected to return at left back, with Axel Disasi assuming the other full-back role. The duo of Thiago Silva and Benoit Badiashile that wasn't overly convincing last weekend will start again at the heart of the defense. Caicedo will line up against his former club alongside Enzo Fernandez in midfield. I think a slight tweak is in order in the front line, with Mikhailo Mudryk starting on the left wing and Cole Palmer playing as the false nine. This is something we did to great effect against Arsenal earlier on this season, in a game where we were unfortunate not to come away with all 3 points. Palmer is much more disciplined when it comes to pressing and using his cover shadow in comparison to Nicholas Jackson. With De Zerbi's men being experts at finding the smallest of spaces between the lines, we are going to need to stay as compact as we can and have players covering every blade of grass in the central areas. So, how do we see this game panning out tactically? Just like us, Brighton have a lot of injury problems on their hands, with the likes of Adam Webster, Ansu Fati, Danny Welbeck, Julio Enciso, Pervis Estupinian, and Solly March all likely to be ruled out for this one. Captain Louis Dunk and midfielder Mahmoud Dahoud are both suspended, having picked up red cards in recent league games. Despite the change in personnel, however, the Seagulls will stick to their principles when it comes to their style of play. Setting up in a 4-2-3-1 that changes to a 4-2-4 at build-up, with the striker dropping deep to receive, their trademark ploy is to invite the press on their centre-backs and then progress the ball through quick interplay between the lines. This is done by the double pivot always offering themselves to the centre-backs and forming a box structure. The fullbacks stay high up to offer an alternative route when central progression is difficult. The method to counter this sounds simple but requires a lot of attention to detail. It is imperative that we don't get baited to press the centre backs too early, as there will always be passing options to play the ball through. What has brought teams success against Brighton is sticking close to the two men in the double pivot and not allowing them the time to look up and pick a dangerous pass forward, something both Billy Gilmore and Pascal Gross are more than capable of doing. Further back, Caicedo and Enzo can pick up the two forwards, likely to be Joao Pedro and Evan Ferguson, who will both look to drop back and receive balls in between the lines. The wingers, Kauro Mitoma and Simon Adingra, will both hold the width and look to make runs into the spaces vacated by the forwards. To stop Brighton progressing up the pitch, it is important to keep the horizontal distances between the positions at a minimum. This will force them to play risky, low percentage passes, which could lead to turnovers in positions from where we could spring quick counterattacks. With their fullbacks remaining high in build up, there will be opportunities to break at pace down the wings, a big reason why Modric should start this game. On the other flank, Sterling is likely to be up against inexperienced teenager Jack Hinchelwood, an individual we should definitely look to target. Going back to the Seagulls game at Villa Park earlier this season, let's take a look at how Unai Emery stopped Brighton from playing their usual brand of expansive football. The villains were aggressive in certain areas and cautiously passive in others. As we can see here, the two forwards Ollie Watkins and Musa Diaby aren't too intent to press the centre backs, instead staying close to the double pivot. Douglas Luiz and Boubacar Kamara are close behind, with the clear intention of not allowing space between the lines. The Brighton centre forward, in this case Danny Welbeck, is being tracked by centre back Pau Torres. The two Villa wingers, Nicolo Zaniolo and John McGinn, aren't too tight to the fullbacks and are also wary of covering the central zones. A ball out wide, however, will trigger a press. In short, Webster on the ball doesn't have too many clear options to progress the ball, at least centrally. We see almost exactly the same situation here as well. With no pass to play, Webster dwells on the ball and nearly loses it to Watkins in a catastrophic area. Everton used the same principle against Brighton in their 1-1 draw at Goodison Park last month, allowing the centre backs time on the ball and blocking off every passing lane through the centre of the pitch. Sean Dyche's men sat deep in a low, compact block and weren't worried about letting their opponents have the ball in non dangerous areas. Against both Villa and Everton, De Zerbi's men dominated possession but were unable to translate that into clear cut chances. Coming to my prediction for the game, I think the opportunity to go for the jugular is definitely there against the big shift Brighton side. Confidence, however, is not at a real high at Stamford Bridge at the moment. We did a lot of simple things wrong against Newcastle last weekend, and similar mistakes will definitely cost us against a side who are both technically sound and confident in possession. We haven't beaten these opponents in the league in over 3 years, and I expect the wait to continue. For this one, I'm going with a scoreline of Chelsea 1, Brighton and Hove Albion 1.